Yeah, good morning, everybody. Here to give you a bit of a Raw review, last night's Monday Night Raw, if you will. And I have to say it was a very intriguing Raw. I mean, first of all, expectations, according to a lot of insiders, was the viewership, more so than anything, was going to be down. The reason being is because a lot of people will be watching, we're going to be watching Chicago and Dallas Monday Night Football. And that's, of course, to be expected, but if you live here on the West Coast, that's where the stronger viewership for Monday Night Raw will come in, because you have the 9 o'clock showing as well. Now, getting into last night's Raw, I have to say it was very intriguing, to say the least. I mean, first of all, we start out with, of course, CM Punk and Paul Heyman coming down to the ring. And basically CM Punk talking about Mick Foley and stuff, and about his encounter with Mick last week, and how Mick is trying to tell him, hey, you want to create a legacy, you want to be the best in the world, you face Cena in the Hell in a Cell and you prove it to us. Well, after basically talking about that, again, he kind of teases us at first, making us think it's going to happen, but he says it will still not happen. Basically saying it still will not happen, because basically he feels he's done with Cena and everything. To me, what's going on here, and I could definitely see this probably better than anyone, what I think is going on here storyline-wise is CM Punk, I guess, is trying to put it across towards everybody that, hey, the way I was brought up in this business, the way I was trained in this business and taught in this business, is if you're a champion and you've beaten a challenger probably once or twice, maybe 3 times at the most, you're done with them. They have to go and wait their turn again. That's what I'm thinking. Now, basically after this, they also talk about AJ and how last week AJ slapped, they even showed video of it, of how AJ slapped Paul Heyman in the face after his proposal to her. Now he does remind, he even has a memo, if you will, reminds everybody that the board of directors have stated to AJ that she's not supposed to put her hands on anybody. No managers, superstars, divas, whatever. And that both he and Punk feel that it should be necessary for the board of directors to come out and say, look, you should remove her as the you should remove her right now immediately as general manager, and put somebody more capable in charge. And of course, Paul Heyman says he would be the right person for the job. And of course, this brings out Vicky Guerrero with Dolph Ziggler. And basically, Vicky says, hey, look, she shows video of what happened to her at the hands of AJ and says, look, if anybody should be put in charge, it's me. And of course, Dolph Ziggler intervenes and says, look, here's a better idea. You should both consider running the show together. Now, obviously, we know that Vicky could have been chosen right off the bat. We know that, right? We all know that. If they wanted to have someone more experience. But here's what I think is going to happen. If rumor is correct, and they do end up removing AJ as the general manager, here's what's going to happen. They're going to bring in someone besides Vicky and Paul that obviously they want to bring in. And basically the word's going to come from this person, maybe even AJ herself if she's removed, or before she's removed, that the reason the board of directors didn't choose Vicky or Paul is because of associations with superstars right now. And stating that if they weren't associated, like in Vicky's case with Dolph Ziggler and CM Punk, they might be considered. But the reason, because of the association with those two, they're not trustworthy, because they feel, and I'm thinking this may be where they go, I'm thinking this, they feel they may show favoritism towards their associates, and they don't want that. I'm not saying that that's going to be what's explained on television in the near future, but I'm thinking that might be where we're going with this. And of course, this brings out AJ. And AJ basically says that, look, you'll be happy to hear that the board of directors have put me on probation and have given me an executive coach, which obviously you can tell she's not too happy about. Now, as soon as she says this, Daniel Bryan's music hits. And CM Punk is like, he's your coach? And of course, Daniel Bryan comes out and apologizes for the fact that because for AJ's mental stability, or mental instabilism, if you will, he wants to apologize because he's the one that dumped her. And of course, as he's talking about this, and then goes and says he's a tag team champion, out comes Kane. And Kane comes out and he basically says, let's not forget one thing. AJ is probably everything you guys said, but she's also a great kisser. And then he goes into a rant about he's the tag champ. Everybody starts saying they're the champ, Money in the Bank winner, blah, blah, blah. AJ basically starts, whoa. AJ starts to get frustrated and says, stop it, stop. Basically, she does a Daniel Bryan, if you will. And then after just so much frustration, she says, you know what, I'm going to make this is still my show, which gets her a big pop, and says she's going to make a tag team main event. It's going to be Kane and Daniel Bryan against Dolph Ziggler and CM Punk. So after that, we get our first match, which is the Primo and Epico against Mysterio and Sin Cara in one of the first round matches of the tag team tournament. This was actually a good matchup. I will say that. I know some people might think differently. Sin Cara and Mysterio do go over. What was intriguing about this is you have the primetime players sitting up on the stage just waiting to see who's going to win this match. And possibly who the opponents might be if they beat Kofi and R-Truth on SmackDown. So I thought that was intriguing there. And I guess they're calling them Mysterio and Sin Cara being called the Masked Marvels, I guess. I don't know. That's weird. Next we have a non-title match between Brodus and Antonio Cesaro, the U.S. champion Antonio. Quick little match here, Brodus did dominate, but he made a mistake. But he did make a mistake. They gave Antonio the opportunity to lift him up put him into the neutralizer, which was kind of amazing. And that got a pop. And beat Brodus, which I think is Brodus' first clean loss in who knows how long. So Brodus actually did a job there. And then, of course, we have a backstage segment with Caitlyn and AJ, and Caitlyn, and we see who the executive coach is of AJ. And AJ basically apologizes as is for acting the way she did to Caitlyn, but then starts to bust out laughing, saying she's not sorry. And the coach looks at her like, well, wait a minute, what? You just said you were sorry, and now you're not? It's like, I don't know. They're going somewhere with this AJ situation. I'll get into that in a little bit. And then we have Miz and Zack Ryder, which I thought was an okay match. I thought it was pretty good. Miz does go over in the match. But it looks like this might help Zack Ryder, even in defeat, get up that ladder a little bit because he put up a good matchup. And then we have the debate between Sheamus and Big Show with Booker T as the moderator. And basically the questions are asked by the fans. Sheamus basically tries to make a joke out of this. And basically Big Show is saying, look, it's as simple as this. I don't have to say anything more than this. It's simple as this. I'm going into Hell in a Cell. I'm going to beat Sheamus, knock him out, and walk out. End of story. With the world title, end of story. So basically, Big Show tries to make this serious and everything. So basically, they finally do get serious towards the end, and they kind of have a stare down where Big Show backs out of the ring. Then we have a rematch from SmackDown. It's Tenz and Ryback. And just like on SmackDown, Ryback does go over on Tenzai. Unfortunately, Tenzai does not allow him to lift him up for the shell shock finisher. Instead, Tenzai, I guess, according to some, like Mr. Rout, said he was kind of like maybe out of it, maybe, we're not sure. But Tenzai was able to block the maneuver a couple of times. And basically, for the win, Ryback hits a second meat hook clothesline to get Tenzai. Next match we have is Eve Torres and Beth Phoenix. Now, what surprised someone like Mr. Rout, who does the canned heat situation along with Metal D or Mark Johnson over on the Off the Rope show, is he was surprised about this. This is what he says. He kind of did an effect on his review, saying, asking if they were in Bizarro World. Because basically you had Beth Phoenix and Eve in a match that actually meant something to the Divas division, because Beth is being accused of attacking Caitlyn behind the scenes, but backstage at Night of Champions. And they do show a video package of Eve trying to attempt to suspend indefinitely Beth Phoenix, which is basically telling you that Eve's going to be the one singled out as probably wearing a wig and attacking Caitlyn because she wants the Divas title and she wants everything to be about her. And apparently it seems that she wants more than the Divas title. It seems that she wants absolute control. So we'll see what happens there. But it looks like that. But Eve does go over in this match. She kind of fakes an injury, takes advantage of the ref kind of keeping Beth away, hits the neck breaker and wins the match. We get a backstage segment with Wade Barrett, who basically, I give Wade credit. I love what WWE did. Basically, he tells her like it is. He says, look, you're supposed to be the general manager of SmackDown. Yet, I mean, not SmackDown, but you're supposed to be general manager of Raw. Yet, I'm not on the show tonight. But he's on the Superstar portion before it. But he's like, I'm not on the show tonight. I'm not even competing tonight. Right? And I like how they make him just blunt. He says, you're doing a terrible job. And furthermore, and he's being honest with her. He's saying, you're doing a terrible job. I mean, you're letting your emotions get the best of you. You're putting your emotions, your personal feelings and differences with certain people in front of your job, before your job. I mean, it's like one moment you're okay, one moment you're not. You're cold, you're not. It's like, and then basically after he says that, hey, you need to get your priorities straight, he walks off. And it seems the coach, according to AJ, is intimidated. Next we have Santino against Heath Slater with his encore members, if you will, Jinder Mahal and Drew McIntyre. Santino does win the match by disqualification because he gets beat down by Drew and Jinder, who come in to help Heath. And basically, all three of them take the mic and say, Drew still says he's the chosen one. Jinder Mahal says he's whatever. Says that he's the Mahari, and that Heath then says he's the one-man band. Then we get what I thought was one of the best matches of the night, honestly. Sheamus and Damien Sandow. And this, to me, on a singles perspective, individual perspective, singles perspective, was Damien Sandow's arrival match. This was the match, to me, that if this tag team thing doesn't really work out with him, this Rhodes Scholars thing, which looks like it's going to be okay at first, but singles-wise, this, to me, says Damien Sandow has arrived. Because he took Sheamus to the limit in this match. Yes, Sheamus did win the match with a brogue kick to both him and Cody. I mean, basically what happens is that at the end, he throws Cody in there because Cody's trying to help Damien, and he hits a brogue kick to the back, to the face, I guess, of Damien, and basically to the back of Cody at the same time, causing them both to be knocked out. Now, I know you're thinking, well, what a way to treat your new tag team that you're trying to push in the Rhodes Scholars. Well, it's like I said, if that team doesn't work out as well, which it will, I've got a feeling it will, this match proves that Damien has arrived as a singles competitor and as a main event player, in my opinion. So, to me, this was his arrival match, and expect Damien Sandow to probably be put in the world title picture by next year, if not by the end of this year. Then we get the appreciation portion for Jim Ross, because it was appreciation night for him. And basically, of course, just like with any kind of appreciation thing, it gets interrupted by the heel, in this case CM Punk. CM Punk does say he respects JR, but he wants JR to help people learn about respect. And he wants JR to say he's the best in the world. And basically JR says, look, I ain't going to say that shit. I ain't going to say that BS. I ain't going to say it because you haven't proven it. And then he goes on to say the reason he is said, and he goes on to say, hey, I've called matches with men that are considered the best in the world. The Austins, the Bret Harts, and the Takers, the Triple H's, because they've earned that distinction to be called that. You haven't earned it yet. And it's not you haven't earned it yet. You have to earn it to prove it to me. So basically what happens is he's telling, hey, you either get out of this ring before I hurt you. So JR wants to go back to commentary. He says, no, you're not going to go to commentary. Punk says, no, you're going to go up that ramp and walk of shame because you're not calling me the best in the world. And then, of course, as JR is making his way back to the back, out comes Ryback to lead him back to commentary, gets in the ring, stares down Punk, and Punk kind of walks away saying, no. And he walks away even after during the promo with JR saying that real men don't walk away from fights. The next match we get, of course, after this